Hello again. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's turn our attention to this now. National Police Commissioner Ms. Ria Priega says the people of South Africa deserve and are entitled to live in safety, free from crime and violence, and that soon the country will have that kind of police service we all yearn for. She was talking at a colloquium held to discuss expanding the role of the police in a changing society and the demilitarization and policing in a violent society. Joining us in studio is the Police Commissioner herself to discuss this further. Good morning to you. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Morning, Ayanda, to you and your listeners.
Something that was key in this colloquium was demilitarization. Now, speaking to you off air, I asked you, does that mean removing titles such as colonel or general? What does it mean to demilitarize the police service, and of what benefit is it to the community?
Thank you very much for asking that good question. I think the first thing we should ask is to say, if you take away the general title from me today, am I a different police tomorrow? And the answer is no. So it is a deeper issue and a deeper conversation. Firstly, it is a paradigm shift to start saying there has been policing in a particular political, ideological environment where maybe brutal force was used to enforce the law and those type of issues. And now that we are in a democratic dispensation, new values that have been adopted by the nation, by the government, require that we shape our policing around that. We need to be thinking about what it means to police in this democratic dispensation, what it means to police in an environment where there's recognition of human rights. What is required to ensure that we are an inclusive and embracing police service? Because you would recall that the service that we had, because it was following a particular ideology, it was closed, it was not reaching out to the community, there was no community licensing to say, you can police us because we believe that you're a partner that we can work with to secure ourselves. So demilitarization talks to a lot of those issues. We need to talk about accountability as police. We are there to serve and to protect, and we are servants of the citizens, and therefore we're accountable to the citizens. It talks about embracing and respect of human rights. You have rights as a citizen. Remember, policing is one of the most powerful professions, because the Constitution gives us rights to enforce the law and ensure that there's public order. Therefore, it is important for us to do that within the remits and confines of the law. But when you license us to police you, we are saying there's an agreement that this is how you shall police. And those are the type of things we're looking into. We need to be transparent in our policing, because you need to feel free to walk to the station to say, I'm aggrieved. I don't like X, Y, and Z. Not to be afraid because we're the police. We need to engage you. Those are the type of issues. We need to give service, you know, and account and give feedback to you.
Hence the shift in when that new dispensation came in from police force to police service.
Absolutely.
But many people would say police officers seem to be a law unto themselves. We have dealt with that, you and I, on a number of occasions, so I don't want to delve into that for time purposes. But the shifting or the demilitarization, is that not something that will deal with the psyche of police officers? Some might say that your predecessor introduced such steps to galvanize the forces, to tackle crime, to make sure that things are done in a very aggressive manner to achieve results. And many will say that that in fact boosted the morale of the police service and led to some effects, positive effects on the ground. Are you saying that the police service perhaps erred in that way?
I am not saying that. The issue of use of force in the police shall always be there, because they must be firm also in doing their work. But that tool is a given. Any service in the world would have the capacity to use some force to ensure that they do their work. But it should be done within the confines of the law, within the prescripts, so that it is explainable, it is accountable, it is transparent. It is not the neglectful or the negligent use of that particular force. This is where we are shifting from. We are saying Gone are the days of Scott, skip, what do they say?
The Scott, skit and donor.
Yes. And this day, the days we have are saying, Ayanda, you have erred. We will arrest you, we will take you to jail.
And we have seen a number of police officers who have not run away from the long-reaching arm of the law. You and I were just talking about one officer. It's made headlines where that officer was caught raping a 13-year-old, has been convicted and is behind bars.
Precisely, because remember, our business is crime. Whether it is inside the police or outside the police, where there is crime, you will find us at the police, because our duty is to ensure that we prevent, criminals from perpetrating criminal acts, and we arrest them and get them convicted.
Now, you've emphasized the need for training and education, especially tertiary degrees, for those who will participate or be members of the South African Police Service. How will this be implemented practically on the ground when it comes to demilitarization? What changes are we going to see?
A number of changes. We talk about professionalizing the police service, and it carries a number of elements. First and foremost, when you talk about professionalizing, you think about skills. You need skills to be that professional police. And what would we be doing? First and foremost, we're starting to say, how do we recruit the police into the service? We've changed our approach of recruiting. We have what we call a community-based recruitment approach. What do we mean by that? We are saying we don't just advertise in the newspaper and everybody applies and there is no community involvement. We go to those communities. We tell them, if we are targeting Western Cape, we'll go to a hall somewhere else in Westbury to tell them that we're here. We're coming to recruit police. We will explain what is required to be a police. We will tell you the attributes. We will tell you that, please, if you have this, if you have a criminal record, don't even bother, because it's not. And, there's this whole self-assessment before we even start. People would self-assess, and community will understand. Then we would move into a space where we would then start explaining, how do you apply? We will have facilitation in that process. We will go through interviews. We will go through a psychometric test. After we've gone through physical assessments, we will do vetting, to check whether you have criminal records and all. We will check your qualifications. But after we've done that, we've added other things. For instance, we have what we call a grooming camp, which we call a DNA check. We want to really check, do you have the personality, the patriotism, the love, the compassion, the commitment for police. When we have finished, we then do a list of who has made it. We take it back to the community to say, after that process that we came here is a list of those that have qualified. We will publish it in the local newspapers. We will put them at public places. The community has an opportunity to say, Ria, don't take her.
Not this one.
Not this one.
Yeah.
We know X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And then we would have what we call a community board to process all those feedback that we got from the community. And then we take those people. That's the one part. We have also, improved our training. Police pre-1994 were training for 6 months. Post-democratization, we've worked on that. In this new dispensation, we're training police for 2 years because we want them to move into the same space as police academies in America and the others. So we're putting in a lot. We've put in, additional modules in their training, human rights training, public order policing. So we've put a number of things into that and increased their practical work. We've also introduced on the training side issues of refresher training for the police that have been there, looking at new programs for training our detectives, looking at new programs for training our public order police. So we're doing a lot around that. We've gone further to start saying, how do we further accelerate our training? This is why we've opened a university. We have a University of Police under the license of UNISA, and now we're having, in that university, we have the academic stream, as well as the policing stream.
The practical stream. And that's it's extremely important, not only to redeem the image of the SAPS and make sure that it's not a default job for those who can't find employment anywhere, but that it also means practical implementation on the ground. But you speak of something that's very important, making sure that you're on the ground, you're arresting the criminals quickly. Your relationship with the NPA. We've seen them saying, oh, you know, cases are being thrown out because of poor policing or shoddy police work. As briefly as possible, the detective work and the investigation on the ground, where are we when it comes to that?
Let me start off by saying it is the agenda of this government to strengthen the criminal justice system, because the criminal justice system is a total value chain. You have the police, you have the NPA, Department of Justice, and Correctional Service. So there is no way that we can wish any one of us away. We have to work together, and we have to ensure that that criminal justice system works. We arrest, and then we must make sure that we investigate the cases and have good court-ready dockets. They will assess them to actually say it's ready. By the time they take a matter and put it on the roll, somebody else has to open that gate to say, we're happy with what we're having, we're ready to put it on the roll.
Okay.
If something else happens where we're saying there is insufficient, whatever, the loop goes back so that we can look at other things. So we'll continue to work like that with NPA, and that collaboration is critical.
It is indeed.
And we can't compete. We must cooperate.
It is a multidisciplinary approach, as you mentioned it. Thank you so very much for joining us. Police Commissioner General Ria Pihega, this is a crucial interview, I think, especially as we're going into the festive season. We have spoken to her extensively about the projects that police are involved in coming up to the festive season. So for time reasons, we're not going to delve into that for much longer. Right now, it's time to take a look at your weather. Andile?